is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Gravity Falls, Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4, The Gulf War, and Sock Opera. In these episodes, we are back to our rivalry with Pacifica Northwest, which frankly I am here for. And then there's a dreamy guy with a ponytail who's weirdly into his puppets in a way that's very uncomfortable. Mabel, you need to have a better screening process. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to for commissioning these episodes. Melanie's in the chat. Hi, lady. So I watched these yesterday with Owen, and it was really funny because we were having a friend over later on in the evening, and she wound up coming in the middle of sock opera. She showed up right before the triangle bill shows up. And she was really stoned. And she was bugging out a little bit. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the way that this is illustrated, but Bill is an unnerving character when he shows up. And there are a couple moments where he gets really huge and red and is staring and his voice changes. And she just kept sort of jumping. And it was really, really funny. So the Gulf War. Let's start out with this sucker because this is one of my favorite things because I really expected this episode to kind of just be about Pacifica Northwest with a dash of maybe a little supernaturalness. But then it turns into so very supernatural. And it just went whole hog on it in a way that I was not expecting. So we start off the episode with Grunkle Stan asking if anybody wants some Stan cakes, which are pancakes, except they have some of his hair in them, he thinks. Which, thanks, I'll pass. And Mabel runs in and she is super, super excited because she believes that she is going to be in the newspaper due to some fashion tips for squirrels that she wrote in with. And what's so funny is that, first of all, I'll say this. Dipper is very supportive of his sister and her rivalry against Pacifica Northwest. I really like the fact that he is encouraging her every step of the way when it comes to taking this little bitch down and does not apologize for it at all. Later on, when she's like, doesn't this seem like cheating? He's like, she's rich. She's cheating at life. Which I'm like, Comrade Dipper in the house. Not untrue, sir. Not untrue. But in this moment, when she opens the newspaper and it turns out that it's actually Pacifica with an article about how V-necks are the look for the season, he says something like how Pacifica probably bought her way onto the front page. And I can't help but think maybe they just decided that fashion advice for squirrels wasn't the best direction for their newspaper to go in. And that Dipper is just, being so overly supportive of his friend that of his sister, his twin, that he fails to see maybe her idea wasn't awesome. But either way, I'm here for it. I'll just say that. I am all about supportive Dipper. And it's a shame because the next episode, we see Mabel failing to be as supportive of Dipper as she really should be. And it's understandable why she keeps putting it off initially, and you just think that it's only going to be a day or two, but it begins to balloon, and that's the thing when you put off something. When you put it off the first time or two, it makes it very, very easy to put it off after that a lot more, and once you break that seal, you know. So Mabel is very disappointed, and she's sitting at the kitchen table, mainlining some orange juice, and there is this amazing advertisement that comes up on the screen of her TV. Are you trying to distract yourself from your horrible life? Guys, this ad, I really thought this was going to be for a Ren fair. But it turns out it's for mini golf. Now, I'm going to read this to you guys. So, first of all, and I should mention that I thought that and Owen thought that as well. I'm not disappointed at where it went. Ren Fair is still on the potential menu. Victory, honor, destiny, mutton. These old-timey sounding words can all be found at the Gravity Falls Royal Discount Putt Hut. No mutton available in like the snack tent or something, they say. Guys, this is, I don't feel like I have been to a themed mini golf place. Now that I think about it, I think I've only been to like 2 mini golf places. There was mini golf in Universal Studios, like when you go in through the Universal City Walk, and it was kind of monster themed, and that looked pretty dope, but I didn't actually do it. You just walk above it so you can sort of see the course. But is this like a thing, like just having like a medieval themed sort of golf? Like, I like this idea a lot. I just hadn't really realized that this was a thing. No mutton available in snack shop. So Dipper comes up with this idea. He says that Mabel will get her mind off of it because she's really, really good at mini golf, and it'll make her feel great to beat the hell out of the two of them. And he shows this picture of her with her first prize cup junior competition, and she is just so freaking cute. And they ask her if she wants to go take a break and go do some mini golf. And I really enjoy that Sam is like, Grunkle Stan is like also very into this. He's just like, yeah, you want to kick our butts? That cheer you up? So, meanwhile, I should mention that Seuss has decided to cut a W neck instead of a V neck. He's going to double it up. And I have to be honest, y'all, it didn't even occur to me that that middle piece of fabric is just going to fall over. When he started to be like, I'm going to do a double V-neck, I was like, that's kind of dope. I wonder what that'll look like. That's a good idea. And then when you see the little flap just fall sadly, I was like, oh, right. That's why you never seen that. And they leave behind Waddles, who is just going to watch over the house. I would have liked to see Waddles running after a bunch of little golf balls, but I'm fine with it. It's cool. So they get to the mini golf course, and it's really obvious that Mabel is kicking ass. I love the reveal as they walk through the doors to the putt hut, because it is really run down and you can like tell, but it doesn't distract from anything at all. I forgot that it's Robbie that sprays wieners on the side of the... I forgot about that. Oh, Robbie, why are you doing this? And we see the little like putt king that is supposed to be charging after him, and apparently the battery has kind of run down on his little golf cart, and he cannot pursue this dude. Dipper is super bad at it. He tries to take a swing, and the ball literally rolls in the opposite direction because he misses and then just hits the water. And yeah, Mabel is just nailing it. She is just like holes in onesing to the point where it just doesn't make any sense almost. But everybody else is just like really blown away by it, and nobody's cranky about the fact that she's so much better than them. Everybody is just like, well, shit, Mabel, good for you. And that was my favorite thing, that like nobody here is a sore loser. Nobody here is mad that she's better than them. They are all just here because they want to be supportive of her feeling better because she's been having a bad day. And that is friendship, y'all. That's what it's about. I appreciate you. So at the end, she's about to beat her all-time high score, and she hits the ball, and it really looks like maybe she's going to do it. But unfortunately, the course is not in the best repair, and there is a puddle, and when the ball twirls at the end of I don't even know what you would call this. The little, like, sort of fence. What do you call it? Like, is it the green? Even when it's like a mini golf course? Well, anyway, it gets stuck in this puddle, and as they're standing there telling her that she's still amazing at mini golf and probably the best person at it in Gravity Falls, here comes Pacifica, and she nails the one that Mabel just missed. And it turns out that she has got a personal trainer for mini golf. And this guy, what is his name? It's something I keep wanting to say Sven, and then I'm like, I'm not actually sure if that's it. But Dipper tries to be like, how is it going for you that your family was all outed as a bunch of frauds? And she says, pretty great, actually. It turns out that having a bunch of money just kind of makes things go away. And damn if that isn't the truest shit ever. You can really think that you're going to like bring somebody low by just like outing the truth about them. And as we have seen, she said with a significant pause and a stare at the camera, if you have enough money and power, it doesn't matter. You can still pretty much do whatever the fuck you want and nobody's going to do shit about it. So this is unfortunately extremely true to life. So Sergey, not Sven, it's Sergey. Oh my God, this guy who turns up. He has a look to him. I would love to know if when the illustrators do these episodes, if they are basing their illustrations on anything, or if they just combined a certain bunch of characteristics that they thought would be fun at random. But there is something so distinctive about Sergey's look that I'm like, this guy has to be based on somebody, right? And yeah, I really enjoy that this is in response to saying, well, money can't buy skill. Because the thing is, it may not be able to buy like inherent skill, but if you have money and you have the leisure time to practice that usually comes with money, you can often train to be just as good as a person who is, actually talented if they do not get the same kind of coddling that you're getting. So, I don't know. I enjoy this show dealing with this issue and being really honest about it, honestly. It's not just like, oh, she's so spoiled, even though that's also definitely a thing. It's just like she gets all these opportunities that other people don't get, and that is not fair. And you know what? Amen. And she manages to do that last ball into the what do you call it? Volcano that just shoots fire into the air. Which, let me tell you, if I was a kid and there was a ball or a mini golf course that had a fire shooting volcano as a reward for getting through the last step of the course, I would lose my motherfucking mind. I would never leave until I had achieved getting through that last hole. I would never leave. It would be either I had to do it or I would camp out beside it until somebody else managed to do it. That's all. That's all, folks. I mean, when I went to Universal Studios, I was 33 years old, and I still just stood in the middle of the street staring up at the Gringotts dragon, waiting for him to breathe fire for 5 solid minutes. Just in everybody's way, just standing there staring up, waiting. I still did. So as a child, and it's a volcano? Yeah, no. That's the end of that. And the way that Mabel looks as her hair is blown back. It's just the moment of like, it's not just that she has been beaten. It's this like incredibly satisfying end to the game that she does not get from Merritt. She gets to sit by the sidelines and watch it. And she challenges Pacifica, who begins to simply walk away. Until Mabel says, "You walking one-dimensional bleached blonde valley girl stereotype." And that's what gets her. And she turns around and says, like, "Let's do this." And I was like, oh, it's on. So she tells Mabel to come back at midnight, which I guess we're just going to like have the place be open at midnight. I guess they're just going to walk up. Like, do they break in? I can't even remember how they wind up getting in. But regardless, the king of mini golf has spoken. I forgot about this because he tips over. This king of mini golf is the same one, I'm pretty sure, who was like advertising for the mattress store in another episode where she's like going up and flirting with him. Mabel, again, your standards, honey. So Pacifica's family and her trainer go running off, and Mabel, when she like they go to dinner, and she's just like leaning on the table as and holding her mouth open as Dipper feeds her tortilla chips. Guys, this restaurant, and let me make sure that I have this right. This restaurant is called, I think, Hermanos Brothers. Let me just double check, but I think that's it. Which Hermanos means brothers. So it's just called Brothers Brothers. Yep, that is Hermanos Brothers. I love it. I love it. Guys, there are so, like, it's done as a joke here, but there are so many places that are called names that if you actually know the language don't make any sense. Like, trattoria is an Italian word for like a diner, basically. There are so many restaurants called like ristorante trattoria, which is just restaurant. Like, that's all that is. But no, people don't know. And it sounds like a name, but it's just the same word twice. And you know what's killing me is that ristorante is also Italian. So like, you're doing this, but like, you're not even in two different languages. Anyway, I like the joke is what I'm saying. Yeah, they break in. That's right. Because they go through the fence. And I love this. Grunkle Stan gives her a sticker that says, "You the best." Guys, Grunkle Stan giving Mabel a sticker to encourage her is the purest and best thing. Can we all just agree on that? I was genuinely touched. Grunkle Stan, I don't know what you're doing in your creepy basement, but I'm kind of on your side. Just going to say it. I'm here for it, buddy. So yeah, she's practicing, and she keeps on feeling like there has to be something that is ruining her shot, because there is this one that she got last time, and now it's like every time she does the shot, it's not happening. And Dipper is like, maybe there's something like wrong with this hole. And he leans forward and he hears something, and he has Mabel go get her club, and he gets his club, and they sneak up on it, and they pull the like side off of the windmill, I think that they're at. And they look inside, and yeah, it is a windmill. That's right. Cause these are all like, Dutch creatures with their little shoes, their wooden shoes. I am in love with this concept and the way that this all goes off. So the lid comes off, all these creatures scream, Dipper and Mabel scream, the creatures scream back, Dipper and Mabel scream back, and then they scream again, and then they raise their clubs, these like creatures all gather together and begin to scream again, and then there's this like, we good? All right then. This is, I think, what is that comedian's name? Shit, now I'm forgetting his name. Bah, he does voices all the time. And now it's going to drive me nuts. Patton Oswalt, right? I think this is Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt is one of those comedians that, like, I like most of the time. And then occasionally he will just say the most ignorant shit. And I'm just like, why do I like you? Ugh. But here, like, when he does a lot of voice work, and I think that he is pretty great at it. And this was another good showing on his part. They're asking what the hell he is. Are you tiny humans, enormous mini humans? And neither. We're Lilliputians. I mean, the name makes more sense when you spell it out. And we control the balls. Behold. And they show them the complicated inner workings of the putt-putt courses, buildings, and all of the way that the balls are cycled around. And it's extremely overcomplicated. But hey, you know what? It keeps them employed. So why not, I guess? And it turns out that every single one of these little buildings is similarly staffed by these little creatures. And each of the creatures has its own country that it's sort of like, because of the theme of the building, they sort of all have like a national identity based on it, which is delightful. I love it. I don't know if you guys have listened to that episode, but I'm trying to remember what the name of the book was. But when I first started doing Spoil Me, somebody commissioned me to cover a book that she had co-written with a friend. And it was I only ever did that one episode on the book, but it was a really fun idea where it was basically a bunch of different countries, which all had a similar thing going on where they had like a themed identity. So there were like a group that sort of felt like they were right out of Star Wars. There was a group that felt like they were out of Lord of the Rings. And then there were like gangsters who were like in all black and white and had Tommy guns. I just thought that it was a really clever, fun idea. And this really is reminding me of it quite strongly. And they offer to illustrate their point even further through song, which we get at the end of the episode. But Dipper is like, no, we're fine. We don't need to hear the song. It's cool. So this is when they meet all of the others that are, because she mentions how she's going up against her rival, Pacifica. And the rest of them are just like, oh, rivals. We know about that. And then you hear these pirates going, put a clog in it, you windmill lubbers. And these really bottom poppin' jays are terrible at controlling the balls. We are the ball masters, says I. And it turns out that all of them are really competitive about the way this goes down with the balls. I don't know how you tell who is the best, but this is when Mabel gets the idea. Well, it's really not Mabel's idea. It's Dipper's idea. And Mabel's kind of like, that sounds awesome, but... and they are going to award her sticker that she's wearing that says, you the best, to whomever helps her the most throughout her playing against Pacifica. But the thing is, what happens is, they get so wrapped up in who's the best that they take things a little bit too far. And so the little Dutch little puttians, they decide to take Pacifica prisoner because they're realizing that like they don't have the edge that they wanted. And they're like, so what's the best way to prove that we're the best is to kill her, which... guys, dark. And Pacifica's like, where's my phone? And it shows them typing to Tiffany, you are dumb, and sending it. And I really, guys, I can't think of like, this is real Mean Girls style, a better way to like sink somebody than to just like socially ruin them with all their friends when you are somebody like Pacifica. So then when the pirates realize that the landlubbers are going to kill Pacifica, they then hold her trainer hostage in exchange for the sticker. And everybody begins to come out of the woodwork, and I mean this very literally. And I forgot about the thing with the miners because, you know, they see the one lovely moment with everybody who's like in the little windmill. But there's another point at which Dipper is like, I wonder what cute, adorable thing is going on down in the mine. And then it turns out that there's like a gas leak, which I don't know how that works, but evidently that's a thing. There is a gas leak and they have to send on somebody to move the ball who ends up sacrificing themselves and dying. And it is extremely dark, and that is part of why the miners are so determined to get that sticker, because they feel like one of their number died and it's in his memory. I would argue they have the best case, probably. So Mabel says, you know what? No one gets the sticker. And they all begin booing. And she really thinks that she's in control and that she can just lay down the law and be like, why don't you all just get along? And they all are just like, because we hate each other, lady. What are you talking about? What's your problem? And she says, maybe rivalries are dumb. All of a sudden, she's like realizing this is stupid and I'm getting hung up on something that doesn't matter. So she eats the sticker because that's what you do. And the little Puttians say it's also clear. If we work together, then we can cut open her belly and get the sticker. Get the girl! Slice her open! Holy shit, you guys. This might be the most, like, straight up, like, aggressively violent of all the episodes. Get the girl, cut her open. Have we encountered this language before on this show where it's like that bald-faced? It was startling. So it turns out that what she is going to do is release Pacifica, who is tied to some like conveyor belt that's going up towards the windmill, and like the windmill, I don't know what you would call them, the fan blades, I guess, the blades of it are going to like cut her into pieces. So Mabel runs over there and is trying to like help free Pacifica while she is getting like tiny golf pencils thrown at her. Meanwhile, Sergei is like about to tip off the plank, and Dipper tells him not to worry because that water is so shallow that you literally can't drown. But Sergei falls face down in the water and is not moving. So it's pretty much worst case scenario. I enjoy that despite all of the like bonding in quotes that Pacifica and Mabel do this episode, it does not change the fact that they are fundamentally different people, and Pacifica is still pretty awful. Like, she makes an effort. Well, I wouldn't even say that. She doesn't really make an effort. She just kind of gets like talked into a corner a couple of times. So Mabel's in the middle of trying to help her, and Pacifica's like, better watch my clothes. They cost more than your house, my earrings, and this kind of thing. And Mabel's like, okay, maybe I'll just leave you here. And then Pacifica's like, no. Sorry, never mind. And Mabel's like, yeah, that's what I fucking thought. And this kind of like continues on later on when she's like outside and they finally defeated these guys and escaped. They are offering her a ride home, and she doesn't want to take the ride home and sit in their crappy car until it is clearly about to rain. And it's just like, you know, Pacifica is not exactly changing who she is, but she is willing to say that Mabel is a really good player. And like, yeah, if she offered Pacifica any sort of challenge without any training at all, I can only imagine what a contender she'd be with her talent if she were able to get somebody like Sergei in her life. So Pacifica is right. I really love, too, that they gave her a taco at the end. And when they see her house, because they try and say, well, it's just like, we have to remember that really, at the end of the day, she's just an ordinary kid like us. And then this like gate swings open and they see her mansion of a home with 2 fountains and peacocks walking back and forth in a very Malfoy Manor-esque sort of way. And it looks like there's sort of a statue in the middle of this maze that is of Pacifica, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a huge sign that says, "Congratulations, Pacifica," that then lights up and fireworks go off. And Dipper says, "You should have charged her for that taco." And Mabel just says, "Agreed." And the delivery of that line fucking cracked me up. And we see one of them, Franz, he is like hitchhiked on the back of the car. He is like on the license plate. And he's like, "You can laugh all you want, but I'll laugh in the end. Franz will." And then they hit a bump and he gets knocked off and just winds up upside down on the side of the road. So then we get a little bit of the musical that everybody is singing at the end. We control the balls. We control the balls. Guys, I figured it out. We control the balls. Now he gets it. Oh, you guys. And it turns out that Sergei is still there and he is being forced to watch this and he wants to know if he can leave now, please. And they will not let him go. And that is the end of that episode. Pretty good ending, in my opinion. So then we go on to the puppet opera. This one is the weirdest. So they're dealing finally with the laptop, because I was kind of wondering, I was like, last episode, the fact that the laptop doesn't come up at all. I was like, how could you do this to me? I just want to know about that. Can you please can we focus? And finally we do. It turns out that you need a password to get into this laptop, unsurprisingly. And there comes, like, throughout this episode, lots of scenes of Dipper just entering words into it. And I was thinking to myself, like, there's got to be a limit to how many times you can try a password. And it turns out that there is, but he is not warned about it. And it is also a very high limit. Usually, you know, when you're dealing with an iPhone, for example, if you enter a password incorrectly 3 times, it will lock up on you. And I have never actually experienced this, but I imagine that getting that shit unlocked again is a fucking headache. So this like allows him to enter what seems to be like at least 100 incorrect password like combinations and suggestions. But anyway, so she is talking. See, guys, Disney Plus is driving me nuts. First of all, they don't let you like resume where you left off on episodes. And also I set it to closed captioning, and it keeps it for the duration of the one episode. And then when the next one starts playing, it's turned off again. I don't know why they do this. Come on, guys, get it together. You're like a $1 trillion company. So Dipper is asking Mabel for her help in figuring out exactly what the password is. And she says that she will have absolutely laser focus, that she will never be distracted by anything, and then immediately looks up and is like, "Do you hear that? What is that?" And it turns out that there is a dude out in the library who is doing a puppet show for all the little kids. And it is the weirdest puppet show. There's a bee, and there is a book, and they make out, and it's really, really strange. It's baffling to me that Mabel doesn't see the red flags here. But there it is. She's just totally taken up with this guy whose name turns out to be Gabe. And the eyes that they have her make when she's staring at him are so funny to me. So she decides, she like goes and talks to Gabe, and she's just trying to like chat him up. And the thing that's so weird about this is, like, he's, like, asking her at one point if she wants to go and get a biscotti with him, which she misunderstands and thinks that's a type of car. Am I wrong in thinking that Gabe is supposed to be, like, 20 years old minimum? And he's asking this child out for a biscotti? And then later on, he acts like he's genuinely, like, heartbroken that she like made a mockery of his art form. This guy's like a bad dude, right? Like, I hate it. I get that it's supposed to be funny for Mabel and that she's like into, but like, no, sir. He should not be asking this. I do not like it at all. So Dipper is getting really frustrated with her being so distracted, and he keeps on trying to get her to like focus on the thing with the password, but like he looks up and she is already gone and has gone back out into the main part of the library to watch this show with Gabe. And she makes some small talk with him, and by small talk I mean she like throws herself at him. Oh my god. Hey, guess who's Mabel? I am. Care to learn more? I bet you do. You like to learn. And then she just like falls. Guys, it's so good. And in the course of their conversation, she apparently promises that she is super into puppets. She is, in fact, so puppet crazy that she is actually writing a sock opera called... I don't think she even says what the name is. She comes up with the name later, but she says that people call her Puppet Crazy Mabel. And he's asking her if she's like, you know, when he asks her for the details about her puppet show, there are so many details. Meanwhile, Dipper is still trying to figure out the answer to the password. And she says, how hard do you think it would be to write and compose a sock puppet rock opera with lights, original music, and live pyrotechnics by Friday? And Dipper understandably is like, girl, what are you doing? Are you serious? And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Something about his eyes and his ponytail. It just sort of like, I just got caught up in it. And now all of a sudden I have told him all of these things. And if I don't do it, I am going to be so fucking embarrassed. And I really need to figure this out. And she says, if you help me with this for a couple days, I promise I'll help you with a password. Please, please, pretty please. It's for love, Dipper. And he agrees because Dipper is a good brother who loves his sister and wants the best for her and always supports her. And Mabel is a little bit more like me, in which she gets caught up in her own shit and loses sight of the people who are helping her. So the two of them walk off and we see their shadow, and then we see the shadow of Bill following them. And it's a real moment. And so there comes a montage of Dipper helping her to make all of these sock puppets, but also continuing to try out all of these different passwords. I love that we see that she is like sleeping at night and only working on her puppets during the day, but he is working on passwords all night and helping her with puppets during the day. So he is trying as much as he can to do both of them. And she is feeling like she's like reaching the end of her project here. They are finally like, they've got a bunch of different puppets. They're using the blow dryer to help like dry the glue on them and everything. It's a sweet moment too, because Seuss and Wendy get involved in this. And Wendy says, come on, Dipper, you just have to roll with Mabel's craziness. It's what makes life worth living. And I was like, oh, Wendy, you are also just such a good friend. So everybody on this show is so good to each other so much of the time. Everybody's eyes will get wet because they'll be crying from laughing because of how tragic it is. Oh, Mabel. So she's trying to compose this song, and Grunkle Stan walks in just as they're like hitting the high note and then just leaves again. Mabel goes to bed feeling pretty good because she feels like she has got it all figured out. She's even made a puppet that looks a lot like Gabe. And as she's like about to go to bed, she tells Dipper not to stay up all night, because last time you were sleep deprived, you tried to eat your own shirt. And he does not listen. We see him up drinking soda, trying so hard to like figure out this password. And as he's sitting on the roof, all of a sudden, here comes Bill. And he pops up and is like, hey, buddy, how about we make a deal? And I love how Bill shows up. It's like the line that slides over the moon, which is his pupil, and then it lights up, and then he shows up. Oh my God. And he's so creepy looking, you guys. He's so creepy. You're awfully persistent, Pine Tree. Hats off to you. And as he tips his hat, the whole world goes sideways. Did you miss me? Admit it. You missed me. Hardly. You worked with Giddy and you tried to destroy my uncle's mind. It was just a job, kid. No hard feelings. I've been keeping an eye on you. I've been keeping an eye on you. And that was the moment where my stone friend began to freak out. So, oh God, you deserve a prize. Here's a head that's always screaming. Oh my God, I forgot about this. And he throws the screaming head, and then all of the flesh gets lifted off of it in concentric circles. Guys, it's terrible. It's terrible. So he's telling Dipper, I will give you the password if you will just make a little deal with me. I'll be right here, and I will let you know exactly what you need to know. And Dipper wakes up from this dream and looks around and realizes that he like fell asleep on his computer and seems to not really give credence that this is a real thing. But later on, there Bill is again. So Mabel, she's like getting really excited about her puppet show. She is feeling like she is almost ready to go. And she looks outside. I think, oh yeah. So she's with her friends because Grenda and Candy show up. And they are offering, they have been helping her with everything because of course they have, because they are also good and pure. And they are in the middle of talking about this when who should roll by but Gabe, rollerblading like a fucking goon. I was just blading by. Helps me dry out my ponytail after a shower. He takes the helmet off, and Grenda is just like, oh, damn. And Candy says something in, I think, Japanese. And she starts to tell him about her puppet show. And he says that her passion is really refreshing, unlike this other girl. Single stitch on one puppet and cross stitch on the other. Oh no, guys. Gabe is like me. Run, Mabel. You don't want any part of this. I cannot tell you when he said that, I was like, I could fucking literally, if I were into this, I could hear those words coming out of my mouth and me being like dead serious about it too. Listen, I'm not proud. But Mabel takes this very much to heart and decides that all of her stuff is not remotely good enough and that she is going to go back to the drawing board and fix everything that, isn't up to par because she doesn't want to embarrass herself. And it's, again, another week from when she, she's putting off helping Dipper yet again. And she's pretty shitty about it, honestly. So finally, Dipper is like continuing to enter passwords while she's away. And he finally gets the notification. I should mention, too, that there's a really gross Band-Aid on the screen, and I hate it. I think the Band-Aid is like meant to be over a crack in the screen. But from the way it's illustrated, it looks like the Band-Aid is just like, there's like pieces of hair stuck underneath it, and it just looks so gross to me. But it tells him too many failed attempts. Initiate data erase in 5 minutes. And he is bugging out. And all of a sudden, here comes Bill saying, well, 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 someone's looking desperate. And Bill is like, hey, buddy, I just, all I want for my favor from you is to, have a puppet. And Dipper doesn't really think through the way this is. All I want is a puppet. A puppet. What are you playing at? Everyone loves puppets. And it looks to me like you've got a surplus. I don't know, man. Mabel worked really hard on these. He gets suckered into it. And he convinces Dipper by being like, what has your sister done for you lately? And when has she ever returned the favor? Ooh, yikes. So finally, as the clock is ticking, he says, just one puppet, fine. And shakes Bill's hand. And Bill, he says, which one are you going to pick? And Bill is like, eeny, meeny, miny, you. And manages to yank Dipper's consciousness right out of his body. And then Dipper's body stands up and he has the creepy ass long pupils that Bill has. And I cannot tell you how little I was here for this, y'all. Oh, I hated it. I hated it. I hated it so much. And he just basically, first of all, he steps on the fucking laptop and crushes it. And then he walks around and just fucks with the body because he's not used to having one. And he's really interested in how it works. So he starts slapping himself in the face. He puts his arm in a drawer and is slamming the drawer shut. And it's like, man, these arms are really durable and pain is hilarious. And he says, kid, you've been coming way too close to figuring out some major answers. I've got big plans coming in. I don't need you getting in my way. And he says that that destroying the laptop was really easy. Now he just needs to destroy the journal. And he says, I'll race you to the bottom of the stairs. And then he just goes stiff and topples backward. Guys, he gets to the bottom and he drinks the soda and he pours it open. He opens the soda, pours it into his open mouth, and then just pours it into his eyes. And it's just, guys, it's the creepiest. This is so creepy. Oh my God, I hate it. Boy, these arms are durable. He pulls his arm out and there are forks stuck in it. I can't, you guys, I can't handle it. It is so funny to me. It really was so, it's disturbing, but it is so funny. So it turns out that, we can see Dipper floating around, but nobody else can see him. So everybody is apparent, I guess the effect of the pupils is also something that nobody else can see, because I have no doubt that they would notice and be like, dude, what the fuck is going up? They go to the theater to watch the show, and Dipper is trying to find a way that he can get his body back before Bill fucking kills it, probably. And it turns out that the puppet show that Mabel wrote is titled Glove Story, a sock opera, which is pretty great. I feel like she could have gone with sock opera. No, I guess she couldn't have. Yeah, no, it doesn't work. So they are sitting in the audience about to watch the show. And I love Stan is here and he's being supportive, but it's clear that he doesn't know why he's here or what's going on. And Bill is asking her where the journal is. And she tells him that it's a prop in a later scene in the show. And he's like, well, why don't I keep an eye on it for you? I'll get involved. And she's like, oh, okay, sure. So she leads him backstage and then peeks out through the curtains and sees Gabe sitting in the front row. Gabe is coming and sitting down, I should mention, in a full tuxedo, still wearing his headset and his puppets on both hands, which just really should right there be a an indicator that all is not right with this dude. I mean, what are you doing? He's like the sham wow guy. Like, he's just wandering around in this fucking headset. So the scene opens on the Mystery Shack, and Candy has her hair like all 80'd up in the front with like a sort of Ziggy Stardust sort of vibe going on, or like the Bowie lightning bolt. I don't know. And all of our characters, puppet versions of themselves, pop out of the big Mystery Shack and begin to sing the song. And Gabe is entranced. You can see him really getting into it and loving everything that she has set up here. He is here for all of it. And I was honestly kind of surprised, because I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this, but I don't feel like I have a good idea of what Gabe's standards are at all. Beyond that single stitch and cross stitch is not going to be acceptable. So Bill Dipper goes back and tries to get the journal, but it turns out that it's in a bucket at the top, like that's being hung from the top of the stage somehow. I don't know why, but Grenna tells him to hold his horses, and Bill says, "Oh, I'll hold my horses. I'll hold them. I'll hold them, you monster," and then runs away. And I was like, what are you doing? So at this point, Dipper is starting to realize that maybe he should find a vessel that can, that he can make himself be heard through. And guys, every now and then we go to the actual puppet show, and it is utter lunacy. I'm watching this part right now where Gabe basically turns into Rambo, and there are buildings on fire, and there's this sort of creature with that sort of looks like an octopus or something. I'm not totally sure. And there are planes flying and gunshots, and Mabel saying, "I'll wait for you, Gabe. I'll wait for you. Our intermission has begun." So Mabel goes backstage and is telling herself that there's only 36 more musical numbers. And then all of a sudden, Dipper's puppet gets up and tells her, "Psst, Mabel." And she understandably freaks out and throws a fork, which lodges itself into his little googly eye. And he is then he finally gets through to her and tells him, You're so much more of a sock than usual." Guys, her reaction to this and the look of the puppet itself are both so excellent. Owen and I just fell out watching this fucking puppet that's leaning over, and "You have to find the journal before Bill destroys it. It's the only hope to get me back into my body." And he's, being very insistent about all of this, and Gabe interrupts, and she has to hide him behind her back. Gabe asks her to go out for a biscotti, the whole thing. And she turns around and asks Dipper, "Can't this all wait until after the show?" And he says, "Mabel, do you want me to be a sock puppet forever?" And he does that thing that puppets do when they're being mad, where they their face squishes up, and she cannot help but laugh, and I can't help but agree. It's hilarious. I am 100% on her side with this, even though he is correct to be frustrated that she is just not willing to prioritize this at all. I mean, yeah, he lost his body, Mabel. Maybe let the show go on without you. It's figure it out. But yeah, she says, "Just take over for me until I get back with the book," and gives him her puppets, which is amazing, because first of all, they established earlier in the episode that everybody knows all the words to all the songs, which I'm a big fan of them, just having alluded to that. And also, he's invisible, so he is the most perfect puppeteer. that would be, you would just be watching it like, how did they do this? Because you can't see the guy that's holding them up. It's amazing. I will mention that when Gabe turns up later, and he's apparently in a wheelchair and has epaulets, so I guess he's like meant to be a general now or something. There are, in the background, tons of macaroni glued to the scenery. And then the two puppets begin to make out, and Dipper is deeply uncomfortable with all of this. So Mabel is climbing over to try and get the journal out of this bucket, and she falls into the thing and begins to plummet downward, and is saved, ? By Bill. And Bill is here to take that shit back. And he has like changed his outfit. I'm not even sure what it is he's wearing now, but it's like he's got like a priest collar on, but he's also wearing like a bolo tie. I don't know what's happening with this outfit, but honestly, it still sort of works for me. I don't get it. I don't know what they're referencing here, but I love, she calls him Bill Dipper, and then she narrows her eyes and says, Bipper. And I was like, that does not sound threatening, but okay, sure, it's fine. And he holds it over her head that she doesn't want to ruin her show, or she'll screw her chances with Gabe. And he says all the wrong things because she's about to hand the journal over. You didn't have a problem taking the journal for your own play or ditching him when he needed your help. So come to your senses. Give me the book or your play is ruined. And she starts to hand it over, and he says, who would sacrifice everything they work for just for their dumb sibling? And she stops and looks at him and says, Dipper would, and yanks on the journal, and he falls into the bucket with her. And this results in them going careening towards the stage floor. And there is a big fight with lots of pyrotechnics. There's a fog machine. There are those like little laser lights going out into the fog. And she's yelling, get out of my brother's body, you evil triangle. Which out of context is the most amazing sentence in the entire world. I just love it. I think that like when Owen's being annoying, I'm going to yell that at him. Get out of my brother's body, you evil triangle. Meanwhile, Grunkle Stan is filming the whole thing, which is pretty fun. So he tells her, you can't hurt me. I'm a being of pure energy with no weakness. To which Mabel is like, oh, that's adorable. You're in Dipper's body. So guess what? And as soon as she says this, I'm like, she's going to tickle him. And indeed, she does. She tickles him under the arm, and he begins to fall back laughing and is like, body spasms? What's going on? And then she tells him that he hasn't slept in 24 hours. So maybe he's not as like, all powerful and unrelenting as he thinks. And he begins to chase her around the stage, and you can see the like circles under his eyes, and he's sweating and panting. My body is burning. Why do I feel like this? I can't move these stupid noodle legs. Curse you, flesh sticks. Can I tell you guys exactly how perfect that is for when I'm at the end of a Zumba class? It's so annoying because like your brain knows what to do, but your body physically cannot continue if you're that tired. So my legs, I'll be like, all right, take a step to the right. And I'll kind of like shift like my torso, but then I'll be like, oh my God, my leg didn't move though. And I really have to like force my leg to take the step to the right. My upper half is going, but my bottom half is like, girl, shut up. So yeah, this is also a quote that I will be taking with me. I can't move these stupid noodle legs. Curse you, useless flesh sticks. Body shutting down. So yeah, he finally winds up passing out. And I love the slow motion pass out and the way that Bill gets like thrown out of him. And Dipper immediately swoops back in and gets his own body back. And then is immediately like, oh man, this body is so tired. I am so tired and everything hurts. Meanwhile, Bill has possessed Dipper's sock puppet. This isn't the last you'll hear of me. Big things are coming. You can't stop me. And this is when Mabel pushes the button for the pyrotechnics because the puppet is sitting on top of a box of firecrackers and other incendiaries. And I love this. It explodes. Puppets go everywhere, and Ave Maria plays as they float like in slow motion through the air, and Gabe looks on absolutely horrified with his giant baby eyes full of tears, and it is amazing. And it ends, and Mabel's like, don't worry, I've seen this a million times. This is the part where everybody thinks that it was part of the show and starts applauding. And instead, everybody starts booing and gets up out of their seats and storms out. And it's pretty good. So yeah, Gabe tells her that she made a mockery of his art form and then starts to make out with his puppets as he walks out of the theater. And it's terrible. So Mabel, using her sock puppet, talks to Dipper and is like, you know, hey, look, got one left at least. That's pretty good. And apologizes to him for not being there for him. And he's apologizing that her play got ruined. And they are both very adorable and sweet. And then we have the after credits where we actually get to see these two actual in real life sock puppets, which are significantly less cute when you see them made flesh, so to speak. I did not like it. It unnerved me a great deal. And the fact that Mabel wakes as if from a nightmare makes complete sense to me, because there's something about this that is so terrifying. What did one sock puppet say to the other? I don't know, Mabel. What did he say? You could use a hand. And then the curtain closes and you see Local Kook and Grunkle Stan sitting like the two Muppets that always make fun of things whose names I cannot remember. And the Kook says that joke was really something, and Grunkle Stan says, yeah, something terrible. And then they start laughing, and that is the end of the episode. And honestly, it was pretty great. I liked them a lot. Also, there's code again at the end of this episode, and there is a ton of it. So much. So I do not know what this code is going to wind up being, but I'm interested. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. That's the end of the episode. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Thank you to Melanie again so much for commissioning all of these. This has been a super fun show to watch and to cover. And I will see you all again soon with a new episode. So until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.